Hey there everybody, welcome back to the Planes, Trains, and Comic Books channel. My name's Matt, and today we're going to check out The Last Barbarians #1. But before we get into that, if you guys wouldn't mind sharing, subscribing, commenting, it really helps me out and lets me know what you guys want to see more of. So, with that being said, let's get straight into it. All right, we got the cover here for The Last Barbarians #1. It is an Image comic, and it is by Brian Halberlin and Sherrod Van Dyke. And we start off with a robbery gone wrong. Someone has stolen something in this castle, and they've raised the alarm. And as we're checking out these images, we're getting narration from the main character, and they're telling us that they are the thieves, and that in order to escape, they had to go through the sewers. So we meet our main character, Sylv, who's been narrating this whole time, and her giant of a brother, Shadow. And Shadow is very useful when it comes to reaching tall things or when they need strength, but he's also not very smart, so he's the one who ended up tripping the alarm because he broke a vase inside that castle. But luckily, they were able to get out with the item that they came there to steal, so they meet at a tavern to bring it to the buyer. So the item they were trying to steal was this little statue, and apparently it was damaged during the thieving. So the buyer says he doesn't want to pay full price. In fact, he wants to pay far below what they agreed on. And Sylv has a bit of a temper, so she takes that statue and she smashes it onto the ground and ruins the statue completely. So the next morning, she's regretting this decision because it has made her a pariah among all the different guilds in the town, so they won't hire her for stealing. So she goes to this big mountain that has a skull on it, I guess to pray or talk to it and see if she can get some direction. But unfortunately, there are giants in the area, and one runs out and begins to attack her, and that's where I'm going to stop it. I don't want to spoil anything else. So this comic wasn't at all what I thought it was going to be like. I picked it up just mainly based on the cover art, thinking it was going to be a very serious, very violent fantasy book. But that's not what this was at all, as you could probably tell. There's definitely a bit of tongue-in-cheek to this and humor. Some of that landed for me and some of it didn't. I think Brian Halberlin did a pretty good job with the writing as far as the story goes. I will say there's a lot of narration from the main character, and in that narration, she breaks the fourth wall a lot, where she talks directly to the audience. And I'm not really a big fan of that fourth wall breaking style, just because for me personally, it takes me out of the book. But once I got used to that, I did think that the story was fun, and I did want to find out what happens to Sylv and her brother by the end of it. The art in this book is pretty unique. I can't really think of anything else that looks like it. It looks like the artist drew the backgrounds and then put a filter on it to make it kind of blurry, and then they drew the main characters on top of that background. So the main characters really pop out in every scene and have a slightly different look than the backgrounds do in the book. And at first, that was pretty jarring to me. I didn't really like it at the beginning, but as I read on, it got better. It was just something I had to get used to. And I do think it's an interesting technique. It's kind of like watching a film where the main characters are in focus and everything in the background is blurry. So that's just an interesting technique I haven't seen before. Otherwise, I thought the art was pretty good as far as detail and coloring. So for a random pick just based on the cover, I thought this was a pretty good comic. Once I settled into what the book was, it definitely grew on me, and I thought it was a pretty fun read overall. So I'm going to give this book a 3 out of 5. If you don't mind a little humor in your fantasy, then this book's probably for you. The book does take itself seriously, but there is a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, mostly in the narration I found. So if you saw anything you liked, definitely go pick that up at your local comic book store, and we will see y'all in the next one.